Hey guys, how you doing? It's Henry and Mowers and Blowers. Welcome to another episode. This episode is going to be my installing my new piston and rings onto my Husqvarna 150Bt backpack blower. So you know I got this backpack blower for free! 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 For free! For That's right, free, because my friend Alan's friend brought it to me so that I could fix it. He ran it without any oil in it, so he ran it with straight gas. This thing is brand new. He probably used it for a little while and then it wouldn't start anymore. And to get right in there. Right, you can bend. Bottom there, extend of the board down. Badly scored piston ring. Here's very, because I'm not going to spend 50 bucks, which is probably what I'm going to buy. It's a two-stroke machine, man. How is it going to lubricate itself with just gas? There's no oil in it, you know what I mean? So as a result, the piston rings are badly damaged and scored. Even the bore is a little scored, but the bore costs 50 bucks. New piston and rings cost 25 bucks. So together with tax, it costs about 100 bucks. Well, I didn't want to spend 100 bucks for a machine that could probably sell for $150, $200, you know what I mean? So I think that the scoring in the bore is low enough that just getting away with installing a new piston and rings is gonna be good enough for this to run. And that's all I wanted to do is run. So I spent about 30 bucks for this new piston and rings, and I'm gonna install it right now. I decided to come out here because it's a beautiful day. Probably one of the last beautiful days that we have left until fall comes. It's about 71 degrees. Here's the new piston rings that I got in the mail. Like I said, it was like $25.25, and it had tax, so it was like 28. So it comes with these two rings. I mean, they look identical. Identical. It doesn't tell you which one's bigger, which one's smaller, which one should be the lower one, which one should be upper one. I'm going to compare them closely and make sure that they're exactly identical. It also comes with the pin. A couple of clips. And here's the new piston. This is not OEM, this is aftermarket, obviously, for $25. There you go. I'm gonna study it to make sure I get the right orientation. As you can see, this part here looks different than this part there. This part goes that way, there's nothing over here. So it has to point in the right direction. I'm gonna compare it to the one I have installed already, just to make sure. Here's an arrow on the top, which usually means pointed towards the magneto. But like I said, I'll study that one and make sure that I have the orientation on right. But first, I'm going to install the rings without breaking them. I wish they came installed. As you can see that there's a hole there and a hole here. This is an indicator of where the air gap should be. Like when you install the rings, you want to make sure that where it cuts off, the air gap stops there. This is so oil can get in between the rings. But of course I have to remove the old one first. I didn't remove it because I wanted to see how it went in. And you could tell that piston is done. You can see the air gap here. It's where the hole is. I have to mount this ring right where that hole is. Same goes with here. After studying it, you can see kind of faintly that the arrow is there, pointed to the right. And if you look on the bottom, that's where the empty part is, and that's pointed to the right. So there's a couple of clips in there. You can need like needle nose pliers to just twist it out, and then get the pin out, and then the piston will come right out. But first I'm going to install the rings. Okay, so I removed the old piston. And I just took the clip out of here, as you saw in time lapse. Pushed the pin with something in the back, like that. Just pushed it. Came out, pulled the pin out, lifted the piston right off the connecting rod. Put the pin back just to show you. Here's the comparison. Arrow pointed to the right. Orientation is the same. The difference in damage here between a new one and the old one. Pretty significant, huh? Anyway, if you see what I was talking about where the gap is, the rings have to be elongated on the bottom so that it coincides when you push it in with the hole. Don't put them upside down, otherwise you won't be able to move it at all. Same goes for this side over here. So now I'm just going to place this on top of the connecting rod, have the connecting rod go here, push the pin in, right, and install the other clip. So first I'm going to get some assembly lube. I'm going to put it right where the rings are. I use my hands and just like massage it into the crevice. Ideally you wanted to put it in before the rings, but it was not easy to put it in there without, you know, feeling that you're gonna break the rings, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna massage this in here. I mean, it's gooey, it's yucky, whatever, but you gotta do what you gotta do, right? It's gonna make it all the way in there. It's very important for you to lubricate the rings, and you need this sticky assembly lube. And you guys know I was sponsored by Lucas Oil until they changed their mind about sponsoring smaller outfits like YouTubers and stuff, which I believe I was the only YouTuber that they sponsored, only because I knew the head guy, you know. He got fired, so new management took over and decided, what are we giving this guy so much stuff for? He's not giving us that much exposure nationwide. I mean, I think I did a pretty good job. It made you guys aware of Lucas Oil products, you know what I mean? And, you know, to give me some oil 4 times a year is not that big of a deal, but they withdrew a lot of people from the sponsorships. Now they only do Formula 1, NASCAR, IndyCar, you know, those dirt track, bike, motocross type events. I understand. Anyway, I got enough oil to last me a lifetime. All right, so that looks good. Just slip it on there. Try to put the bore back in. And I'm not gonna try to mess with the bore because I'm worried that if I start doing fine grit sandpaper onto that little dot over here, I'm gonna make it worse. It's low enough that I think the piston is not gonna affect it. You know, at least the piston rings, you know what I mean? And the top part Seems pretty smooth. The bottom part has that little divot, but like I said, the piston's going upwards and downwards, pulling the compression area. This bottom one here, I don't think really is touched so much. That dot right there, I can sort of feel it, but I'm gonna try to get away with it. I think it'll probably work. And there's a huge difference between this and that, you know what I mean? Okay, sorry, my phone died. Happens when you're out in the heat. Phones don't last long. GoPros either. If it's too hot, it'll say temperature bad. Anyway, I put on, because it has this metal gasket over here, I had to rotate it so that it didn't have one, so that you can move it around. And then once I got the bore onto the piston, I rotated it back to where it's supposed to be, where the gasket goes into like a canal molded in the backing here. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Didn't have a ring compressor the size, so I basically just used my fingers and compressed the top ring, got the bore over it, compressed the bottom ring with my fingers, pushed it down, making sure that I didn't rotate the rings, because the rings need to coincide with the dot, right? So I think I got it on right, and I slipped the bolt, the 4 bolts that go and hold the bore onto the machine. Crap, I only have, oh, I got it. The other 2 go in there. It's going to be tricky to get in there because you can't see it, you know what I mean? Anyway, so it looks like I've got it on here, and I matched up the holes. The gasket from the bore to the block, there's a little rip in one of them, so I took some high temperature RTV silicone just to give it a little bit of a coating, hold it in place. It should be fine, especially with the torque specs of the bore going onto the short block. So as long as I got these holes lined up okay, I would hope that these 2 screws will go in just as easy by just dropping them in. All right, bores on, torque them down really tight. Hopefully my gasket fix will work. Put the muffler back on with the muffler shield, heat shield / gasket. 2 bolts, torque down this way. Installed the carburetor, 2 bolts straight in. I taped the sandwich together, so I didn't have to worry about how it went on. And it's all tight now. This is off choke, this is choke. And I'm gonna put the spark plug in now. I should route this on the inner instead of the outer. Now check this out. So when I did my repair on my Red Max years ago, when I put it on, I couldn't even pull this. It was so hard.
That's what she said.
I think I might have gotten the rings wrong, but then I just kind of messed with it a little bit longer, poured some assembly lube down the spark plug hole to make it a little bit more smooth. I don't think I did that the first time, but check this out. Super smooth. Feels good. Put the spark plug back in. It's clean. It's practical. Like I said, this thing is like new. The guy just took it out of the box, put gas in it, used it for a while, and it didn't start anymore. So this thing was a retail $3.99. I think it's now $3.49 now, which isn't terrible. I mean, I wouldn't spend $350, $400 for a backpack blower. Just get one that's broken, fix it. Everybody can do that. As long as you watch Mowers and Blowers, you'll learn how to do it. I'm just a regular Joe. I don't have any technical training whatsoever. I mean, I did go to college for mechanical engineering, but I mean, they don't teach you how to do this in college. But it teaches you why things happen, physics, why it works this way, blah blah blah, you know. And that's why people go, and like the math they teach you, statistics, chemistry, all that shit that you have to take for as a prerequisite for mechanical engineering. You never use that shit. It just teaches you how to be technical is all. Okay. So we routed that back on. Oh, you know what? I have to put the cover back on. But you know what? Let's just put this on and see if it fires up. You guys think it'll fire up? I'm hoping it will, of course, but there's no guarantees. Okay, moment of truth. Prime it. It's on choke already. What do you guys think? It'll work? I think it might work. Oh boy. Oh. I can't even pull it. Compression's too hard. Assembly move in the spark plug hole. Take it off choke. Let this blow off. Let the assembly move burn off. So how about it, guys? My new Husqvarna 150Bt backpack blower. They ran it without oil in it. Just pooched the entire piston, rings, and bore. The bore wasn't too bad, as you can see. We got away with just a $25, $30 new piston and rings. Replaced the piston and rings, installed it. It really wasn't too bad, you know what I mean? No instructions, just do the reverse of how you take it off. Making sure the arrow is pointed that way, and you put on the rings correctly. So I'll probably list this for $225, hopefully get around $200, $175, even $150 I'll do, because remember, I only spent 30 bucks on it. So I pried this cover off, and as you can see, there are no air fuel adjustment screws at all. Non-adjustable. Can you believe that? That's it. It's just the primer bulb. What the hell? Can you believe that? Can't even adjust it. At least easily. Yep. Nowhere to be found. There's only like a timing screw. That's to adjust the idle. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to like, share, and subscribe.
Subscribe. You're subscribed.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. Subscribe. Subscribe to it.
It's me. Hi. We need you to donate $1 or $2.
Hit the subscribe button. It's free.
We'll see you guys next time. Blows and blows.